Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to you all, to one and all in fact, especially to Scott and Lois. Scott says he's got all the thanks covered, so I've got a clear run, whatever that means. It wasn't part of my remit, but I've got to mention how well you've organised it. Okay, well done. Well, can't even read mine right now. Well, I don't think I've so much as lost a daughter, but gained a son. In fact, another whole family with the Kilmans. Thank you. So what have you taken on, Scott? Well, difficult child. Very difficult adolescent. And adults, she's all yours. It's okay, I'm not finished. Her two brothers, Neil and Philip, were quite enamored when Lois came on the scene. I don't know if the 6-year gap between them, between her and the boys, was good or not, but the novelty soon wore off. Yes, girls are noisy, needy, demanding. They thought. I guess being younger, she was basically spoiled. That's the truth. But I blame her mother-in-law, and I'm looking at some of the family here. She once told me that's what they're for. Now, if any of you know Helen's mum and dad, I can never recall her spoiling anything or anybody, apart from maybe the grandchildren. I will make exception for that. I couldn't let the day go past without mentioning pets. We've had various pets. We've had all kinds. Dogs, cats, rabbits, you name it. We've had them. But my first recollection was the family cat. District nurse visited one day. Lois had a bit of nappy rash, so Helen said to the nurse, would you have a look at nappy rash? It's fine. So the nurse proceeded to take off the nappy and have a wee look, and Lois rebatted a bit, started howling, and the cat wasn't for this, so she launched herself to the nurse, dug her teeth in till her leg, and wouldn't let go. Thankfully, she'd on hefty winter boots, and there's no damage done. So that was the first recollection, but it got more serious after that. First thing was a pony. I had a good neighbour. He also had a daughter. Maybe that had something to do with it. He says, I think you should buy that coin a pony. I says, why the hell would I do that? So, why would I do that? I'd keep her off the street for a year or two. It would be good. And I'd really never thought about that. But I thought, that makes sense. So we had the pony, and the pony came, and the pony went, and that was fine, job done, I thought. But they come back with a vengeance. Dad. Now, for all you young dads out here, this is a lesson. The start of why your daughters especially, it starts with, Dad, I want this, Dad, I want that. But if it becomes, Dad, that's fun to take notice. So it was, Dad, I could, hey, a horse maybe. A horse? Why would we want a horse? Thankfully, Helen had presence of mind. Right, you get a bit of pencil and paper and you write down why you think you deserve a horse. What's your part going to be in the deal, and if you're going to muck it out, and what are you going to do? That was quite simple. She did that. It's okay. We're still on pets, obviously. So, where was I? So that was fine. That bit of paper actually turned out to be like a contract. Because when the horse duly came, then, of course, it's needing mucked out, fine. Oh, well, it's in the contract. Look, you said you'd muck it out, you would do this, so she went, that was good. And I was thinking today, Scott, that bit of paper you signed, hang on to it. Could be handy. Just take it out and say, well, look, you said. Never mind, that was the horse. Another thing to do with the horse. The paddock, of course, when you get a horse or a pony, I suppose a horse especially, the paddock had to be depuped. Now this made the boys, Neil and Philip, this made their day. Their sister was shoveling shit. And did they enjoy that time after time watching their sister walking up and doing poop scooping. That was really important to them, seeing their sister really groveling. About that time, I suppose, in the early teenage days, Lois was quite shy, especially amongst, not so much among her peers, but among adults. She was very shy. And we tried various ways to improve that. And one was she got a Saturday job with a local drug dealer. Now, that was a big help. So, Vinny and Rupert Elian, Vinny and Teresa are both here today, so thank you for that, giving my job. And I think she had to face the public with them, and that was good. Another thing we discovered a while ago now, that believe it or not, she was quite athletic when she was in her teenage years. Well, she did a lot of swimming. So we've discovered we had crossed swords with the Kelmans before, in the pool, albeit. That was. I'm sure that was a fact. So a bit of reminiscing going. Yeah, that was good. That helped to overcome the shyness a wee bit. So we're about finished school by now, and we're maybe going to university. So, far are you gone? Oh well, I'm definitely not going to Aberdeen. Small-minded, nothing happening there, Dad. No, I'm not going to Aberdeen. It's a big world to see out there. I'm going. It's a big world out there. I'm definitely going. Edinburgh, Glasgow, you name it. I'm not going to Aberdeen. Fine. After a while, she eventually went to Glasgow. We enjoyed Glasgow as a family, and Lois did as well. It was super times, great memories of Glasgow. A lot of good friends. She's still got from Glasgow here today. She achieved her joint degree in business and finance, so Mum and Dad were well chuffed and very proud of her for doing that. Chuffed to bits. So, what's she going to do next? Well, she got a chance on an internship down in London. Now, most you'll know internship is doing something for little or nothing. Now, it doesn't go doing well with Lois. But I suppose, chance to go to London, bright lights, I'll be there. So off she went, and she did enjoy London. But during that period, she got a chance to do Channel 4 Shipwrecked programme. So that was a chance they turned down, but she phoned me when she went, well, unknown to Helen and me, she had applied for this and never heard a word. Then she phoned me one day, it's the usual story, Dad, I'm doing all this, blah, 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 and I've got a second interview. But I just hadn't got that final punch. I need to say something controversial. I need to do something to make sure I maybe get the chance. And I never even heard of Shipwrecked. I said, well, just be honest. Say you've had the frozen north and you've picked daddies and you've shoveled shit and you've done all this. Now, I'm not sure this day if it's actually said. But she got in the programme, which was great. And it was a great experience. Helen and I were very relaxed. It was 2 months. She was in the Cook Islands and enjoying herself. And we didn't have to think about it. It was more difficult. We had to stay quiet, stay still. We weren't allowed to speak about it. She wasn't even there. So if you start telling lies, it's not good. But never mind. That was Shipwreck. So we're home from Shipwreck. What do we do next? Oh, we're going a year out because that's what students do. I suppose that's what they still do. Except the year and a half ended up 2.5 years out. Would it be right?
Yes.
At least. Never mind. She came home from there. What are you going to do next? Oh, I need to get a job, Dad. Oh, that's the best thing I'd heard in a long time. Well, you see, I was wondering. A lot of my pals are working in Aberdeen. I says, fit? Aberdeen? You are joking. After all you've said about it. But there's money in Aberdeen, Dad, and my pals are already in this, that, and the next, and I'm going to work in Aberdeen. Oh, that's great. Fine. You get a job in Aberdeen, I'll be nobody happier than Helen and I. So, Aberdeen she went, and now, as I'm sure most of you know, she works for the Leith Quarry Group down in Cove, driving a loading shovel. Well, somebody said that's what's what you're doing.
Good money for doing that.
Good money for doing that, she says. Oh. So the rest's almost history, but never mind. I got a text from Scott one day, and he said, could we meet up in Aberdeen for a wee chat someday when you're passing through? I was like, yeah, that sounds good to me. I'm thinking, yes, he's going to propose. So there's a few days between, and I began to think, I hope he's not going to hand her back. Never mind, he did the honourable thing and asked for her hand in marriage, and we're chuffed to bits. Couldn't be happier. So welcome to the family, to the whole Kelman family. And, well, one thing I meant to say at the beginning, this wasn't part of my speech, but a big thank you for your organisation today. Fantastic. To you and your pals. I mean, you've been at it since 6 o'clock this morning, so well done to you. Okay. So, just before I sit down, can I ask you all to charge your glasses and be upstanding for a toast to bride and groom, and may all their troubles be little ones. Okay, thank you. Right, very good. It's water.
Well done. Did it.
I know, I'm fasting. Right, what does it go next?
What's
To you.
yours?
Cheers, Charlie. Charlie. Okay, so it's on to me. Calm down, ladies. Calm down. Marry man. First of all, I'd like to thank Charlie for his excellent speech and kind words about me. I had a similar contract when procuring Ace, and it turns out I have to walk him and feed him and do everything for him as well.
You can pause it with Seychelles, but you can.
Anyway, I was a bit concerned about following Charlie's speech, and I was right, the Newmarket Doric isn't quite as thick as the Port Soy. Sorry, I had to put a joke in there. Anyway, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, page boys and flower girls. On behalf of my wife and I, yes, we'd like to thank you all for being here today, but not just being here, being part of our lives. We are very lucky and grateful to have such amazing friends and family, and could not be happier having all of you here celebrating our marriage with us today. We'd also like to thank you all very much for the generous gifts and well wishes that we've received over the past couple of weeks and today. Now, the plan for my speech, apart from the obligatory, is to keep it short and sweet, much like the best man. Wait. Well, he is sweet. I just seen him lean in and change his speech. But before I go on to others, I'd like to personally thank my gorgeous wife for firstly turning up, but everything she has done in making today wonderful. I think you'll all agree she looks absolutely incredible today. Some would even say like a unicorn.
That's Olivia.
For those that don't know, Olivia described Lois in her dress as a unicorn. So we'd like to thank the people that made that extra effort and travelled from great distances to be here. We have Mark and Kat from wherever in the world you're currently residing, because you've told me Austria I've got here, but somewhere. Patty and Rebecca from Doha. A heap of folk from across the border, and of course the ones that made it down from Port Soy. I'm actually a bit disappointed to not see the scout bus being used this weekend. We've also got a few people we'd like to thank for their contributions today. We've got Steve Milne. Thanks for the wonderful tune this afternoon. It maybe would have been good if you played when you couldn't. Mr. Lewis, that was a lovely heartfelt reading, thank you very much. Crazy Craig Milne for the wedding ring logistics, thank you very much. And you were also nearly married to him, as Lewis has quite rightly pointed out. And I've got Irene and Brian here from Dubai, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, but played a big part in the purchase of Lois's engagement ring. If you could just edit that out of the video in case Revenue and Customs see it, that would be good, thank you. Of course, there are some people who either couldn't make it or are sadly not with us any longer. I'm sure all of you, much like myself and Lois, have lost close friends and family over the years. So if you'd like to all be upstanding and raise a toast to absent friends. To absent friends. Doesn't Helen look amazing today? I've told her a number of times her dress is amazing. It is very, very nice.
Why are you holding it?
Charlie, you're nae bad either. A big thank you goes to the both of you. First, I'd like to thank you for producing such a wonderful daughter. It's a testament to the people you are, how great she's turned out. I'd personally like to thank you for both accepting me and making me feel very welcome. I couldn't have wished for a better mother and father-in-law, and I'm looking forward to our future as one big family. I'd also like to thank you for everything you've done for us as a couple. You've helped many times with our house, are always willing to be little Ace's holiday home, and I've done an incredible amount in supporting and helping with everything today. Thank you very much. Now, when when Lois and I's relationship was relatively new, that's a typo there. I've got whatever the humanist was on. Anyway, now when Lois and I's relationship was relatively new, I wasn't really sure whether I was truly accepted by Helen and Charlie. After all, I'm clearly nae affirmer. But for Lois and I's second Christmas together, we thought it'd be a good idea to host. Helen and Charlie came through in the morning and we started on the bubbles. Lois asked if I could turn the top oven, which is not fan assisted, obviously, to 200 degrees. I did as I was told, and Lois stuck the veg in the oven. After a while, she opened the oven, and to her horror, the veg was half cooked. All hell broke loose. I got the blame for not putting the oven on the right temperature, and subsequently ruining Christmas. This is when Helen calmly intervened and got me out of the kitchen. So the next morning, Lois turned to me and she said, "I think my mum likes you." I was like, "Really? Well, why?" And she said, "Well, remember the oven incident?" I was like, yes, I remember that. Well, when my mum got you out of the room, she turned to me, she grabbed me and said, "Stop it or he will leave." So thank you, Helen, because today might not have happened. So after this, I thought I must be doing all right, but Charlie wasn't totally convincing either. This didn't really come till I was asking for his permission to marry Lois. We arranged, as he said, a secret meet-up chat at the Palm Court, and then after making some small talk, I eventually plucked up the courage. I started my little speech about how Lois and I's relationship had developed, but before I could even stop, he started rubbing his hands like this, and he goes, "Are you tucking it off my hands?" I said, "Well, if that's all right with you." So anyway, thank you to you both. Lois's upbringing sounds very similar to mine, where we were both very relaxed, supportive and open-minded parents. For those of you who don't know, I have nicknames for my parents. They are Danger and Wifey. But for today, Lois said I have to call you Mum and Dad. So anyway, Mother and Father, I would like to thank you both for everything you've done over the years. It must have been a struggle keeping us three loons under control, but I'm sure my brothers will agree you've done an amazing job at raising three wonderful boys. Sorry, I misread that. One wonderful firstborn son and two others. It's actually the youngest son's 30th birthday today. Which must make you two feel afa'al. Anyway, my memory as a child is of a happy, loving and enjoyable home. You were always very supportive. You were always very supportive in any activity we wanted to do and were never off the road taking us places. Our pals were always round at the house and they all loved being in your company. One funny memory I have is the time that you returned home to rumble a party. about 50 kids started fleeing and frantically grabbing their trainers from the front door. But unlike other parents, you told everyone to get back in the house and continue the party. Danger then went into the fridge, grabbed a beer, opened it and started drinking it, to which one boy said, "Hey, that's my beer." And he said, "My fridge, my beer." So, Danger, you were there for all us boys, but to me, mostly as chief roadie. I don't think I, or any of the musicians in here, can thank you enough for all your efforts you put in over the years. You're always there to humph gear. You're always there to humph gear and pass on your unique words of encouragement. Well, like, I won't get into it, but... basically, if he told you weren't very good, you were great. If Lois and I are lucky enough to have family, and I do half as much as you've done, then I consider myself an amazing dad. Thank you. Wifey, or mum, sorry. What a traumatic life you've endured. You had to put up with 3 brothers, who are here, and then got 3 sons. You got some amount of abuse from us. And used to get especially irate at the other sons, not me, letting off. To which you said, I'll do it in wifey voice. Oh, no one knows about wifey voice. So, wifey voice basically sounds like this. If you're gonna let off, for God's sakes, will you please go to the bathroom and do it? So we would save up all of our wind and wait till wifey was peacefully relaxing in the bath. And then we burst in and let off as instructed. She couldn't really give us into trouble because we'd done what she was told us to do. Anyway, wifey, you are someone else. An elegant, intelligent and remarkable woman. You've always been there for me, our family, and now Lois and little Ace. You're always so thoughtful and caring in everything you do. I maybe don't show my appreciation as much as a daughter would have. However, these words will hopefully make you realise that I love you and appreciate everything you have done for us all. Now, we do have some flowers for Helen and Wifey for being such amazing mums, but we'll get that later on. Now on to my best pal and best man, Mr. Andrew Corse. Being fortunate enough to have a number of close friends, there were other contenders for the best man. Ultimately, the decision came down to the fact that Andrew would make me look really buff throughout the day. Good job, Andrew. I'd like to thank you for the awesome stag do in Barcelona, where you effortlessly chaperoned 21 drunken morons, maybe excluding Charlie from that, 20 drunken morons around the city and took us on a karaoke-infused music festival catamaran adventure. Now, despite his good looks, charm and excellent party planning abilities, Andrew is remarkably still single. So if there are any ladies interested, you'll probably find him sleeping on one of the chairs about 11 p.m. For those of you who don't know, Corsi, with a drinking, can sleep literally anywhere. So, taking any of his drunken anecdotes about me with a hefty pinch of salt, he will have been there, but just asleep in the corner. The groomsmen, Patty and Bob, I'd also like to thank you for your efforts today. You've been a great help and done all your jobs. Good boys. I'd like to give a special thanks to Bob for clearly picking my stag do outfits. I think my favourite was the Jerry Halliwell, full shebang, Union Jack dress, lipstick, high heels, the lot. Anyway, talking of good looking ladies in heels, don't the bridesmaids look absolutely stunning today? Where are they all? Rachel, Angie and Jenny, you all look amazing. You've done a great job over the past year helping Lois with the wedding prep. You also collectively organised and partook in possibly the best hen do like ever. Lois told me about the wild time she had with the Quines and even wilder wifey and Helen. Not to mention hanging out with Ed Sheeran at Ocean Beach. I must admit I was a little anxious today. I was expecting him to burst in with his guitar at the ceremony, singing about his undying love for Lois. I couldn't really blame him. Meeting her for 2 minutes did that for me. There are also the Flower Girls and Page Boys. We've got Sienna, Olivia, Amy and Orla. You all looked beautiful in your beautiful princesses today. And the lads, Ethan and Christian, you boys look very dapper. Where are they? So thank you very much to Lois's entourage for everything that they've done today and over the past year. So if you could all be upstanding and join me in a toast to the bridesmaids, Flower Girls and Page Boys. Now on to the main event. I first met Lois at the Big Beach Ball Festival and I instantly knew she was special. As the humanist pointed out today, Rachel, the bridesmaid, a mutual friend, was taking far too long to set us up, so I just added her on Facebook after waiting about 24 hours. Smooth. For our first date, we went to Ciao Napoli. We got on incredibly well. We had a lot in common. She was a country quine and farmer's daughter like my mum. And I remember sitting there and thinking, my God, this is her. I've met the girl I'm going to marry. We didn't really go on a second date. I pretty much just moved into Lois's flat. Oh God. I should have been paying Charlie rent. Katie, my flatmate at the time, texted me asking, after a few months, Katie, my flatmate at the time, texted me asking if I still lived there. After a couple of years, the real love of Lois's life arrived. I often ask Lois, who do you love more, me or little Ace? And she always says, it's a different kind of love. Which basically means, nay you. Now, knowing that Lois wouldn't be keen on any grand gesture or public display, I thought of a low-key proposal involving Ace and this cuddly toy that resembles a diamond ring. You alright? The first 6 attempts, however, didn't go quite to plan. A fisherman stole my idyllic spot. Lois rumbled me getting the ring out of my bag, and of course the police came round for a statement after I seen 2 guys robbing a house. Kinda killed the mood. The pressure was on and Charlie was in Port Soy sweating as he'd been keeping a secret for almost 2 weeks now. I finally got my opportunity. Lois had been out the night before and was extremely hungover on the sofa. So I psyched up Ace, got the real ring and gave him the toy. Little Ace bolted down the stairs, keen to get the job done. I chased him down to the living room where Lois gave us into trouble as this was not helping our sore head. I said, "What's that in Ace's mouth?" Lois sat up concerned and then said, "I think it's a ring." With Lois now completely confused. Handbag. She thought it was a handbag. I went down on one knee and asked if she'd marry me. And after all the oh my gods, laugh crying, she eventually said yes. Eh? Oh, she never said yes. Abort.
I think I said yes.
Did you not? Okay.
Yes, I did.
Did you say yes now? We'll tell them all to go. Lois, as I mentioned earlier, I knew you were the one from our first date, if not our first brief encounter we had at the Big Beach Ball. You're an amazing girl who is so intelligent, caring and fun, not to mention incredibly beautiful. Much like my failed proposal attempts, our lives aren't always easy, but as a team, we get over the bumps. I'm extremely proud and privileged to now call you my wife, and with that, I propose to you and everyone here that I will cherish and care for you for the rest of my life. I love you with all my heart, and I look forward to our married life together. I'd like for you all to be upstanding as I propose a toast to my amazing and incredibly beautiful wife, Lois.
Right? How you doing?
I'm good.
Good afternoon, everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Andrew, and I'm Craig's best man. Sorry, Scott's best man. And as he's already alluded to, in many ways, I too was surprised by his choice. I have no organisational skills to speak of, an abject fear of public speaking, and I know everything that he's got to in the last 20 or so years. However, in the lead up to the wedding, with the facials, with the beauty products, with the carefully timed haircuts and sunbed sessions, I realised he's just needing somebody to make him look good in his photographs. On behalf of the bridesmaids, I would like to thank Scott for his kind words, and their words I'd like to second. They have done an incredible job, and they're also undoubtedly beautiful. And every compliment that has come their way today is completely deserved. Oh, here's some more of that to you. Thank you. Scott asked me to be his best man a year ago today. It was the morning of the 3rd of August 2018, and I remember it vividly. Scott had picked me up in the van around 8:30 in the morning because our band, the Little Kicks, were playing at Belladrum Festival outside in Inverness. And I was trying, failing I may add, to hide the fact that I had disobeyed orders to behave myself the previous night during the Aberdeen-Burnley Europa League qualifier. And what I remember most is the immense sense of pride that I felt. Seeing young Lewis Ferguson send that overhead kick past their keeper into the top corner at Turf Moor. Now, Scott and I weren't friends straight away. I don't actually recall the first time that I met him. But Dice Academy wasn't a big place, and so I knew who he was, and I knew him to be popular with everyone. I knew him to be naturally good at everything that he did. And he was always decked out in whatever brand clothing was on trend. Essentially, I thought he was a prick. And I took great pride. I had a good time watching his protests when he came second in the sexiest male vote to Mitchell Liddell in the school yearbook. A vote cast by his fellow peers. Well, I say that, but this was 20 years ago. It could have been a teacher's vote, right enough. Is that where the line is? Okay. We both played in bands at school. Mine was better, of course. However, our drummer was terrible, and so Scott had a reputation for being quite handy on the pots and pans. So we held a secret audition for Scott, and that's when a lifelong friendship kicked off. We used to save our change from our school lunch money during the week to go half in a crate of beer deluxe from Asda, and we drank that on a Friday evening, either at Scott's house or in the park. Never at my house, because that kind of shenanigans were heavily frowned upon in the Corse household. In contrast, Scott parents often got involved. Oh, sorry, your parents are here, eh? Scott worked the deli counter in the Asda at Dice, so I would often go up for a blether and get him to make up a giant bag of chicken satay sticks with a whoop sticker adjusting the price to 2 pence. On occasion, he'd serve up pizzas with about 2 inches of topping, also 2 pence, but they were a bit of a mixed blessing. They took 3 hours to cook. Most of our spare time then was spent working on the band, practicing multiple times a week, and relentlessly driving around the country in a van to play gigs. And it was a lot of fun, but sadly we had to grow up. These days we spend most of our time working on the band, practicing multiple times a week, and relentlessly driving around the country in a van to play gigs. In 2002, Scott headed down to Drum Tech in London, which is essentially Hogwarts for drummers. But with paradiddles instead of potions and flams instead of females. He left Aberdeen as Kelman and returned from London a year later as the Kelmanator. Now, to the uninitiated, the Kelmanator was Scott's self-assigned bachelor nickname, a play on words on the Shermanator, and if you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, then allow me to explain. One was a sexually desperate and self-proclaimed sophisticated sex robot sent through time to change the future for one lucky lady. And the other was a fictional character in the movie American Pie. Now, that is all I'm going to say on the Kelmanator era, because half of this room has already heard it, witnessed it, or suffered it personally. And the other half still think that butter wouldn't melt. It's probably best to keep it that way, eh? I'll just take a wee drink of water here. Now, Scott and I were reunited musically when the Little Kicks were looking for a guitarist in 2013. And it was through the Little Kicks that Scott and Lois first met, when we were playing a festival in Aberdeen in May 2014. Now, the story goes that through a crowd, Lois saw a dark, handsome, well-dressed man, presumably standing next to Scott, and made her way over. Scott will tell you that Lois was immediately smitten, whereas Lois has a somewhat different version of events. What I can tell you is that on the 29th of May 2014, we were arranging a practice in the band group chat. Scott sent a message saying, "Let's make it snappy. I have plans. Winky face." "Who's the girl?" I asked. And he replied, "Lois Gray, stalk away." In a strictly have a look on Facebook sense, you understand. More messages followed, ridiculous, and then simply Real Madrid. Now, these may seem like unconventional compliments, but they should be considered high levels of praise from Scott, and Real Madrid had just won the 2014 Champions League. But once Lois had entered Scott's life, it was clear that something had changed, and the Kelmanator had been tamed. Now, Scott is many things to many people. To me, he's a best friend. He's someone who is dependable, he's loyal, and he's kind. He's a grafter, and he's somebody who will do anything to help a friend in need. Now, these are the qualities you should look for in other people when deciding who you let into your life. They're also qualities that I completely abused when I received a notification on WhatsApp to say Phil Gray has added you to the group The Blackening. My job was to get Scott to Portsoy 2 weeks ago during a period where he was on the wedding diet, first of a diet he's ever been on. And he wasn't drinking, consequently had no interest in a night out whatsoever. Now, I knew that the only way I could get him up the road was to take advantage of his good nature and request his help in a completely fictitious scenario in which I needed help with manual labour. And just to turn the screw, I told him that it was my parents that needed his help. Now, Scott, of course, said he would help, and his brothers, Grant and Murray, thickened the plot by asking for help moving a caravan that same evening at Grant's house, which is just round the corner from my folks. I was a bit nervous that Scott would put 2 and 2 together on the drive out to Dice, but I needn't have been, because we actually spent the entire journey talking about how much we were bricking it about giving these speeches. Yeah, you killed it. How am I doing? Now, we arrived at Grant's house where Grant, Murray and Danger were waiting. And Scott was happy to see everyone there right up until Danger bundled him on the sofa, sat on top of him, while his brothers Grant and Murray stole his phone, tied him up, and carried him out to the car. And it seemed fitting to me that his last words before we loaded him into the boot were, "This is the last time I help you, you bastards." Now, I doubt that is the case, especially if you're still wanting a hand clearing this road up at the end of the weekend. Now, I should briefly mention the stag do too. There was 21 of us enjoyed a long weekend in Barcelona, dressing Scott up in a variety of inappropriate costumes. We took in Primavera Festival and we lapped up the Mediterranean on a private boat and owned every karaoke bar that we entered. I think it was a success insofar as no one got mugged, no one ended up in hospital, no one ended up in jail. However, one had to stop to photograph every dog that he saw. Don't know if you know Barcelona, but they have quite a few dogs. One was just nae that into it. One slept through the first 6 hours of Primavera. Looking at you, Patty. One came out as a Rangers fan. One came out as a Liverpool fan. And while we're on the topic of coming out, several of us, myself included, briefly lied about our sexual orientation and coupled up together to avoid a particularly aggressive sales pitch from an assertive stripper. Now, that is all that I have to say on the stag do, other than it has been brought to my attention this afternoon that another one of the stags has a very special celebration of his own today. So can I ask that everyone be upstanding? Raise your glasses and join me in wishing a happy birthday to Benji. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Benji.
Hope you can explain it.
Thank you. Benji's birthday's in November. Lois. Lois, you were kind, you were loving, you were caring, and you were warm. With Ace. You quickly became a friend in your own right. You're always beautiful, but especially so today. I was sat in a bar with Scott and Lois last August, and Lois came out with, "When you think about it, there's actually not that much to planning a wedding." Now, I took note of this seemingly naive remark because I was sure there would be some bridezilla meltdown moment further down the line that I could use to push it back on her. But instead, I'm using it here today because it demonstrates that when you're with the right person and when you're both pulling the rope in the same direction, you see things differently to other people. The things that seem daunting to them are exciting to you. The challenges are not to be feared. They're to be overcome and thrived upon. Now, Scott and Lois are a team. And like any good team, they accomplish far more together than they ever could as individuals. They're like Real Madrid in 2014. Now anyway, I've taken up enough of your time, so without further ado, Scott and Lois. While I have no doubt you will share a long, happy and healthy life together, let me still wish you the best of luck. And ladies and gentlemen, can I ask that you please be upstanding once more? And raise your glasses to Scott and Lois.
Well done. That was
Well done, that was excellent.
Excellent.